Whoever submitted today's countdown, submit your codes in the telegrams also. Okay. Yeah, in whenever you are free. Not the JS part, actual React one. Like in your GitHub, it will be there now. Give your GitHub profiles, other people will see it. But don't copy from someone. Now imagine here. Now see this. Now here, component 1, component 2, component 3, and component 4 are there. 4 components are there. Now I have to go from, like in the component 1, I am giving it some value named x. Component 1 has a value x which is 4, and I will give one input box in the component 1, and I want that value to be stored in the component 4. Component 4 will display that. Component 4 will display that. How will the component 4 will get the component 1 value? Props only, na? So component 1 will pass this x value to component 2. Component 2 will pass it to component 3. Component 3 will pass it to component 4. In the component 4, I will print it x. Now, sir, is component 2 and 3 are using the x? No. So, even though component 2 and 3 are not using the x, but still component 2 and 3 need to pass the x. They are in the middle stages. Okay. So there in the process of passing from one component to another component the data, there is a chance that the properties has to pass through the unnecessary components also. So in between the unnecessary components who are not needed, this particular x value also will pass through this. And this problem is called prop drilling. What it is called? Prop drilling. But there is no other way if you look around, right? Based on whatever the choice we learned till now, there is no other choice. But there is one concept here. How do you solve this error? Okay. Now, if someone asks you what is prop drilling, explain sometimes in the scenarios when great grandparent component has to pass the values to the parent grandparent, and again it has to pass to parent, again it has to pass to the child. Okay, even though it is not used in some middle component, still they have to pass through this so that innermost component will get it. Is it clear, ma? Is it clear? Now, this unnecessary passing of prop to the components is solved by something called context API. How do you solve the prop drilling? We will use something called context API. We will solve something called context API. Sir, what is this? What is this context API? Now, context API will provide you a big container. Imagine now a big box is there, which is available throughout the application. Now, what will happen? Immediately, my first application, the C1 will just put this X value into this. Now, this context API box, this box is having X. This box is available throughout the application. Now, directly this guy will ask, give me the X, and it will print it. You got my point? Is everyone clear? I want to pass the last guy something, and I have to pass it through one person, everyone. Even the middle persons don't need it, they still have to pass it. Instead, I put one box here, and that box is available to anyone. And I just put the whatever I want to pass in that box, and automatically anyone can come and take it. It also be possible that the multiple people can come and take also. That may have solved more problems. right? This point is called context API. Context API can also be used for in this context API. The terminology is this box is called provider. What it is called? Provider. The one which provides the context is called provider. Okay. How do you create the context? How do you create the box? We will create the box using something called create context. Okay. You can write it inside a function also. You can pass a function. You can pass. It's like we are not writing anything. See, if I write it here, one function, sir. Here I write one function, fun. And this fun, where I'm writing it in component one, and I'm passing this fun also to this context API. Is it clear, ma? So whatever I want, I will just put it in this box. Okay. Is it clear? Now, what are the disadvantages? You should not throw everything into the main box. It will make it the performance issues. Okay. If, for example, C1 is there and C2 also wants to use X. C1 and C2 are just neighboring one only. Okay. Parent child only. If they are immediate parent child, they can use directly props only. They are easy. Right? Props is more faster than the context API. But what if they have to pass multiple levels? Then context API is easy. You got my point, ma? Now, if they are immediate, we use props. If they are like as a kind of more levels are there, we use something called context API. Actually, context API you can use values, you can use functions, you can even use for state management also, which we will see. Usually for state management, we will use something called Redux, which we will learn later. But even context API can solve the state management for simple applications. Okay. For simple applications, no need of Redux. Without Redux, context API can do that. Now, how do you create the context API? We use one method called create context. Create context will create the provider, and whoever using them, and they are called consumers. They are called consumers. And the consumer, wherever exactly I'm using it, that consumer will use one hook called use context. The consumer will use one hook called use context, sir. Is it clear? Now, there are some things which you need to pass. The major examples, uh, must and should examples are like this. For example, theme or mode. Usually, I want to keep it some dark mode, some light mode in my application. I will put one button. That button will trigger the light mode or dark mode. Sir, here in the first component, I will put that button, dark mode or light mode. You know what will happen? The second one also, the second components also should know na. Is it light mode or not dark mode? Third component also should know na. Fourth component also should know na. How many components are there in your application? Every component should know whether it is a dark mode or light mode. So that means every component should pass to every other components that particular property, right? Instead of passing it the same property that many times, I will give that in the context API as a local, the mode, so that globally what is the mode will be declared. Because this context API is a global value which is applicable for whole application. Okay. Or something called authorizations. These kind of problems will be solved easily using this actually. Authorizations. Authorization means, for example, you are doing some role based application. Okay. Is the guy is logged in or not? I want to do. For example, if the person is logged in, it will work it in one way. If the person is not logged in, it will work it in another way. My application. Take it Amazon. If you are logged in, it will directly go to add to cart and it will automatically you will go to the checkout page. But if it is you are not logged in, it will go to some other page, login page, right or not? So you want it every component to know that whether you are logged in or not. So you will put one value is logged in or not. Whenever you click on login, whenever user authentication over, then you will update that value and you will give that value for the context API so that the context API will update it. Is it clear, ma? These are the more scenarios we will use it, but actually you can use it for any other scenarios. Major scenarios are mode, okay, or state, basic state, state management, basic basic state management, or authorizations, or theme or mode. These kind of things will be used by this. Okay, we use one hook called use context, and we use something called create context, and we use providers and consumers. Let's see, sir, how we will do this all. Is everyone clear with this concept? Slowly we will do this also. Just remember it for some 5 to 10 minutes. Later, when we do it, you will remember it. Now, let's go here. Let's just start it. CD projects npm create with latest context API demo React. Now something context API demo came. Now CD context API demo. Now npm install npm run. Okay. Sorry, npm install will take time. Yeah. npm run dev. Okay. Now let's go here. Let's go to my application, sir. SRC app. Now component one, component two. See, we are just doing some simple dummy one. Okay. Later we will do mode one. Later we will do authorization one, state management one also. Okay. Whatever the three examples I told you, majorly those three things also we will do. Okay. Now here, then here app.js. Okay. Everything let's install. RAFCE, 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 RAFCE. Now in this app, now here main in main.jsx. Now this main.jsx will have this use contexter. Now how do you do it? Now to create it, first you need to create a context. Now here you can write it here, const main context equals to create context. Okay. Now here you can you can actually do whatever the values you wanted, default value for this particular main context. Okay. Now let's have it 0. Count. Usually you can do without the value also. Let's try this way. Now I'm just giving here context provider, main context dot provider. Now what is this mean? It means I created one context. It's like I created one box and I gave that box in the app. That means, see, inside the app, create context component one is there. Inside the component two will be there. Inside the component two, component three will be there. That's our structure, which we discussed in the example. So everything is inside the app only. Anyway, whatever the application you do, every time the application will be inside the app only, right? So I am giving this context provider for the app. That means throughout your application, how many components are there? Every thing can able to access this create context, right? Is it clear, sir? Now let's do. Uh, how do you do? I think here only you can give some values also. No, just try it. Let's go here. Component one. Where is component one? Component in the component one in this component. Now go to the use content. Now here const count comma set count equals to use here. This is use state only, na? Initially, how can it will be? Just try it. Somewhere something is syntax is wrong. Const count equals to 0. Now, can I print it here? Const count equals to use context. No, I have to import count. Something somewhere mistake is done. Just a minute. Cannot access count before initialization. Huh? ఈ కౌంట్ అనేది ఈ ప్రొవైడర్ నుంచి రావాలి. మెయిన్ కౌంట్ ఇప్పుడు మెయిన్ కాంటెక్స్ట్ ప్రొవైడర్ సీన్ ఇస్తుంది కదా. సో ఇది తీసుకోవాలి కదా సీని. C is not defined. The value prop is required for the context provider. Which is correct only. Let's see this one. Let's go to the official website, react.dev, context API, create context. Import create context from React. Yes, I import it. And I created a context also. And then, okay, what? app value equals to count. Somewhere some small confusion is there. అర్థం కాల నాన్న. In the main I declared, okay, in the main I declared the create context. Okay, that is over. And provider I applied it. Use context. Do I have to use main context? Main context is not defined. If use context is there, use context should be able to take it everything which is there. Okay, let's do in this way then. This now I will just export it here. Export. I will just go to this here. Import main context. And this main context, I am passing it here. My whole application is inside this main context dot provider. I don't want any count or something. I just want to give the component directly. Okay. So let's take a variable const count, comma, set count equals to use state 0. Sir, now what is the point is, now what I want to do is, I will take it here use state now. Now I will put it one button and I will do the increment the state value. Whenever count value is updated, the count value, it will pass it in the context, so that any component can able to take the count without passing it in the middle components. That's what our logic is. So let's go here. I'm using basic fragments. Here a button, this button, in this button, whenever someone clicks on click, then here it will automatically set count, sir. set count, set count, count plus 1. So automatically when you click on this, count value will become 1, 2, 3. Now here I will pass this value. Value equals to count. Now this one has to be received. Component is there. Now inside the component 1 is there. Inside the component 1, component 2 will be there. And inside the component 2, huh? Now here I will write it count value. This is what the point. So the provider is app. Provider is the app. Now here I am just printing it. Now here what I can print it here. How do I do it? Const count equals to use context main context. Now here I will just print count inside is count. Let's go here. Let's see my application. I got a big error. No, no errors. So if I click on this, counter is incrementing. Now let's implement it. Like, let's go here. Let's do it here. App. I'm giving it everything, some style, sir. Div, style. I think you know inner stylings, right? Sir, when you are doing styling, you will go with double braces, sir. Right? Now here I will go width 400 pixel. 400 pixel. Array, comma, height 400 pixels. Sir, I am just doing it so that I want to show you guys the difference. That's it. Okay. Border, oh my God. Border 1 pixel. Please share the write up to yourself with me. 1 pixel, solid red. Will it work? Yes, it works. Control C. Go here. Control V. 300. 300. Then again 200. 200. Then again 100. 100. Now go here. Sir, this is what I showed you, na? A component inside a component inside. Okay. Now in the main, you have it like app. In the app, one button is there. Inside the app, C1 is there. Component is there. And inside the component, you have component 2. Like this, you have, why you are getting it only one, component 2, component 1, component, and app. 4 are there, na? Either only 3 are coming. Huh? Not getting. something component goes to component one. Seriously. Okay, whatever. Now anyway, see here, sir, how this thing worked. That one is more important. Now how this thing worked, sir? Now who is updating the value? Main is updating. App is updating. Sir, did the app pass it to its children? No. One box is created. How do you created the box? Create context. First thing, one box is created here, and the box is how do you create it? Create context and the main context, and I export it. Name is main context. Name you can put anything. Okay, and create context here, main context, and that is exported, sir. Now here, same thing. What if I write it here, theme context or mode context? Okay, here I will write it something called mode context. Okay, and here I will write it like by default light mode. Okay, and whenever I go to the app, here I will write it, whenever I click on the button, it will change light mode to dark mode to light mode, so that any application will receive it, na? Right or not? Whoever the component, if innermost component wants it, innermost component will use context. Right or not? Now first, how did you created the box? You created the box using create context, sir, and you exported it. Then second, you inserted the value into the box. Okay, okay, how did you insert it? Main context dot provider, and you gave one value, and the value you gave count, initially 0, the count value. And whenever you are updating, the value in that box also will be updated. That is the interesting point. Okay, now see, one box is created. I want to give you a last guy 1 rupee. Okay, tomorrow 2 rupees I want to go, then 3 rupees. Every time I want to give something, I will just put it in this box only, more and more. When I'm updating in this box, automatically it will be updated to him. He will take it from box only, not from me. You got my point? Now see, inside the main, what is their component? But it did not pass anything to component, right? And component is nothing. Now inside the component one is there. Did it pass anything? No prop. Now component one is having component two. Did it pass anything? No. Component two, neither of its parent passed anything. Component two parent is component one, but nothing is passed. Still, it directly get the answer. Now, when I'm asking count, how did it get? It get it from use context. Use context will use it something called main context. In the main context, one value is there, which is called count, which is called count, and that count I take it here. Sir, I give it only one value as the provider? No, you can actually send it multiple values. You can send one function, you can send one state, you can send so now we send it actually state. Okay, you can actually send it so many things also here. Now here in the app, what if I send it here count? Now we will see how to send it the multiple ones tomorrow. Okay, actually one, like I can put 10 things inside a box, which anyone can take anything from that particular box. Okay, now this is just a basic prop drilling solve, sir. How do you pass the state? Now this is also the solution for state management also. Okay, now one application, now main solution is this. I want you to understand a main thing is the main one, WAP one, without passing it to any of its children, it directly came inside this inside one. How it is taking it? Whenever incrementing, automatically in the box value incrementing. App is incrementing the box value. and that guy is receiving it from the box. Is it clear, sir? How it will receive? Use context. How I gave? Provider. How it created? Create context. Three methods. Is it clear, ma? And use context is a hook, sir. In React, anything started with use is called hook. Is called hook. How it will differentiate hook and a normal function? Hook will start with use. Okay? Use context, use state, use uh, effect. Okay? Sir, how do you do if I do it with class components? You will write it my context dot consumer. Earlier, whoever gives it is called provider. Whoever receive it is called consumer. Okay, that is a legacy code. In traditional class components, we used to write same way my context dot consumer, and you used to take the value and used to insert it. Okay, now you can directly use context. Okay, now yeah, that's it. Now today's assignment is why component inside the context provider. Huh? I didn't get it. In the context provider, see that means, see why the component is inside this my context provider means I am inserting this component for this my context provider. That means throughout the component, whatever the value I am giving in this box can be used. This my context providing this value for this whole this component. Okay, if you wrap it up inside only, if inside 10 components are there, for the 10 components it will be available. Usually what we will do, we will give one component, which component will have it like all applications. Okay, is it clear, sir? Any doubts? Is everyone clear? Yeah. Now let me try it. Let me show it to you. Give the assignment. Now today's assignment, sir, everyone focus. Create a simple application which have which which have nested components, nested components, and each component display some text, some dummy text. Each component will display some dummy text, sir. Now, in main component is app component. Okay. Uh, change the mode from change the mode from dark to light or light to dark, light to dark, and 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 affect these changes in innermost component. Sir, whatever the component in the innermost which is having text, that innermost component should receive the dark mode or light mode. If it is dark mode, background became black and the text became white. If it is light mode, background will become light and the text will become black. Same application, whatever I did, I am asking you to do this. That here, if I click on this button, the inner text count inside will become white and the box will become black. You got my point? Without affecting the middle ones. Is it clear, sir? Then we'll do it like how it will do whole application and all. Okay. Provider keyword is mandatory, ma. If you don't write provider, it can't be provided. Okay. Provider means I'm giving it to everything, whatever inside my provider. Any doubts in this? This is very important and very mostly asked question in interviews. Prop drilling and context API. Is it clear, sir? Yeah. If anyone wants to check it one more time, check your all logics. You should know by now, you should know what is a component and you should know how to do nested components. You should know how to do props, prop drilling, context API, and here state, uh, class and functional both by now, and use effect also. Use effect and life cycle methods. These were the things we discussed till now, ma. And these are the basics, the phase one basic React. Okay. Is it clear, ma? Tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we will just discuss some more interesting concepts in the basics. And then Monday onwards, we will go into somewhat advanced topics. We will discuss different hooks, and we will discuss our own custom hooks. Okay. We will see React forms and Redux and all. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And I'm pushing the code. You can see it. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you. Online any doubts?